Ever notice she goes warm, then weirdly distant, right when things start feeling promising? You replay every message, every pause, wondering whether you impressed her or ruined everything. Most men call that mixed signals, but often it is something much more specific. When a woman secretly likes you, she rarely relaxes first. She usually tests. Not because she wants drama, but because attraction makes people protect themselves. She is not only asking whether you like her, but how you handle it. And if you understand the tests, her behavior stops feeling random. Because most of these tests are not traps, they are filters. She wants to see whether your confidence survives uncertainty, pressure, attention, and small emotional shifts. That means the test is usually not the moment itself, but your reaction. They overexplain, chase reassurance, get too serious, or start performing. But the men who read these moments correctly become calmer, sharper, and more attractive. Not because they play games, but because they stop panicking. One of the first tests is simple, and most guys completely miss it. She says something slightly challenging, teasing, or skeptical, then watches your face. Maybe she jokes about your outfit, your plans, or your sudden confidence. Can you stay relaxed when she pokes your ego a little? A secure man smiles, plays back, or stays unbothered without getting defensive. An insecure man suddenly sounds like he is defending himself in court. Because teasing is not always rejection, sometimes it is emotional probing. She creates a little friction just to see whether you collapse inside it. If you get stiff and tense or weirdly eager, she feels that instantly. If you stay light, grounded, and present, she feels safer getting closer. She replies fast one day, then takes forever the next. She seems excited in person, then oddly flat over text. Most guys instantly assume interest drops, so they start chasing clarity. But sometimes she is watching what uncertainty does to your behavior. She wants to know whether you become desperate the second certainty disappears. This matters because early attraction is fragile when one person needs constant reassurance. If every delay changes your entire mood, she feels your dependence. If you stay steady and keep living your life, she notices that too. Stability is attractive because it suggests options, self-respect, and emotional control. That does not mean acting cold, it means not abandoning yourself. A third test shows up when she brings up other men around you. She mentions a coworker, an old date, or somebody messaging her. A lot of men hear that and immediately start competing. They flex, interrogate, withdraw, or subtly try to win the comparison. But very often the real question is much quieter than that. Can you stay centered when reminded you are not the only option? Scarcity can make insecure men perform, but secure men become more present. The best response is usually relaxed curiosity, not territorial energy. You do not need to beat a ghost competitor, she casually mentioned. You need to show that your value does not panic under comparison. And pressure is one of the fastest attraction killers in early stages. Another test feels smaller, but it reveals a lot about you. She asks for a small favor, a small opinion, or a tiny adjustment. Maybe it is helping her choose, remembering something, or meeting slightly later. But she is often reading your flexibility, generosity, and hidden resentment. Some men agree, then punish her with attitude afterward later. Some men say yes too fast, hoping service will buy attraction. Both feel off because both come from insecurity, not genuine ease. The attractive move is simple: help when you want to, decline cleanly when you do not. No guilt, no performance, and no hidden invoice attached afterward. Because attraction grows around emotional cleanliness, not covert negotiation alone. Here's where most men get confused and accidentally make everything worse. They start treating every unusual behavior like a puzzle they must solve. So instead of being with her, they become analysts performing live surgery. The point is not to decode every test perfectly in real time. The point is to stop reacting from fear when something feels uncertain. That alone makes you read better, respond cleaner, and attract differently. Because when you need the moment to go your way, she feels it. And once she feels neediness, everything she does suddenly means more. A pause feels like rejection, a joke feels like disrespect, distance feels final. But when your self-worth stays stable, her behavior becomes information. Not a verdict, not a crisis, and not a referendum on you. That frame alone changes your tone, timing, and presence completely. Midway through attraction, the tests usually get less obvious and more emotional. This is where a lot of men lose women they actually had. She stops testing your confidence and starts testing your emotional steadiness. She opens up a little, then watches what you do with it. Maybe she shares an insecurity, a past hurt, or something embarrassingly honest. If you get overly excited, overly intense, or instantly possessive, she notices. Because now she is not testing your swagger, she is testing safety. Can you hold intimacy without trying to own it immediately? Can you hear vulnerability without turning the moment into your opportunity? This matters more than most men realize because attraction needs emotional trust. If she senses that closeness makes you controlling, she will pull back. If she senses that closeness makes you calmer, she can relax deeper. That is when tests start turning into invitations instead of barriers. Here is a common mistake almost nobody explains clearly enough. Men often think passing a test means acting unfazed every single time. So they become emotionally flat, overly detached, and weirdly hard to connect with. That is not confidence. That is emotional unavailability wearing expensive cologne. Women do not secretly want a robot with perfect composure. They want emotional strength, which means you feel things without spilling everywhere. You can be clearly interested without lunging for control immediately. You can like her without turning her response into oxygen. You can notice a test without becoming suspicious of every woman. That balance is powerful because it feels masculine without becoming rigid. Another test women use is watching how you handle public attention. Maybe she is warmer with you when others are around, then cooler later. Maybe she watches whether you become performative once the room notices. Some men get louder, cockier, or overly touchy the second they feel seen. It looks like confidence, but it feels like image management. She is checking whether your personality changes when status enters the room. That is a huge signal, because consistency creates trust faster than charm. If you are solid alone and solid socially, she can believe you. If your whole energy depends on being watched, she feels the instability. A strong presence does not inflate under attention, it stabilizes. And that makes a woman feel she can trust your center. Sometimes the test is even quieter, and that is why it works. She goes silent for a second after you say something bold. She holds eye contact a little too long, then says nothing. She gives you a window to fill with nervous talking. Most men rush to explain, justify, impress, or recover the tension. But tension is not always danger. Sometimes tension is attraction, breathing. If you can hold a quiet moment without scrambling, she feels your nervous system. She feels whether you can handle intensity without begging the moment to end. That is why some men say less and somehow create more tension. They are not using magic. They are not leaking panic. Silence can be attractive when it comes from composure, not confusion. And women can tell the difference faster than you think. Here is the deeper truth that changes the whole game. A woman who tests you is often revealing her attraction and her fear together. She likes something about you, but she still wants proof. Proof that your attention will not turn chaotic once she returns it. Proof that your confidence is real even when she complicates the moment. Proof that your interest does not become pressure the second things matter. And once you understand that, you stop taking every test as disrespect. You start seeing them as information about her, not just about you. That shift makes you less bitter, less reactive, and much more effective. Because resentment is just wounded confusion pretending to be wisdom. Social intelligence starts when you stop personalizing every unclear moment. So what should you actually do when you feel tested? First, slow your reaction before you try to choose your response. The fastest way to fail a test is emotional autopilot. If you feel your chest tighten, say less, not more. Give your nervous system 2 seconds before your mouth takes over. Second, answer the emotion underneath the behavior, not just the behavior itself. If she teases, respond with playfulness, not a courtroom speech. If she goes quiet, respond with calm presence, not frantic entertainment. If she becomes inconsistent, respond with steadiness, not emotional chasing. Third, keep your own life moving while attraction develops naturally. Nothing makes tests harder than making one woman your entire mental weather. When you have routines, standards, friends, and purpose, you respond cleaner. Not because you are pretending to be busy, but because you are alive. That aliveness gives you the exact energy women keep trying to verify. Fourth, stop auditioning for approval in the middle of tension. The second you try to prove yourself, you leave your strongest position. Strong men do not win tests by impressing harder desperately. They win by staying psychologically organized when the moment gets messy. That is what confidence actually looks like in real life. Not loud certainty, but emotional balance under small amounts of pressure. And once you build that, women start feeling different around you. They relax faster, reveal more, and test less aggressively overall. Because your behavior quietly answers questions they usually need time to ask. You stop seeming like a man who wants validation from women. You start seeming like a man who can handle women. That difference changes dating more than any line, tactic, or text formula. Because women are not only reacting to what you say, they are reacting to what your behavior says about your emotional stability. And emotional stability is rare enough that it instantly stands out. So the next time she gets playful, inconsistent, quiet, or slightly hard to read, do not rush to label it rejection, manipulation, or game playing. First, ask a better question. What is she trying to feel safe about? Then let your response come from self-respect instead of fear. That is when confusion turns into clarity and pressure turns into chemistry. And that is when women stop testing as much and start choosing. Not because you cracked some secret code, but because you became steady. You became the kind of man whose reactions create trust. The kind of man who does not beg moments to go smoothly. The kind of man who can stay warm without becoming weak. The kind of man who can stay calm without becoming cold. And that balance is usually what she was looking for all along. If you want something to remember this one simple truth. Women do not test men, they feel nothing for nearly as much. They test the men who create possibility, tension, and emotional risk. So stop seeing every test as bad news for you. Sometimes it is the first honest sign that she is actually paying attention. And if you learn to meet those moments well, everything changes. You feel less confused, less needy, and much more in control. She feels less pressure, more safety, and stronger attraction around you. And the connection gets to breathe instead of constantly being managed. That is when attraction stops feeling like guesswork and starts feeling mutual. If this hit home, carry it into your next conversation. Do less proving, read more calmly, and let your presence speak first.